The Construct. Dude, thank you for joining me on this. I appreciate it. And you cover VR accessories and gadgets more than games, I think. Just an introductory thing for people watching this. I assume they know
Absolutely.
you. I assume they do.
Yeah.
But when did you start making videos, and what headset was it that dragged you into VR initially?
So I started making videos, and I think it's been 2 years now. It was like February of 2024. So it hasn't been long. In YouTuber years, that's pretty short. But my first experience with VR was the Rift. Actually, it was my first experience. I never owned one, but I experienced it. But my first headset that I owned was the Quest 2. Got into it around the pandemic, Half-Life Alyx was like the first thing I played, or the first like real game I played. And needless to say, it just completely blew my mind. Being a gamer, like that, it's something that we've always wanted. Like, my favorite genre of gaming has always been first-person shooters, and being able to actually be first person, it completely changed the game for me. I couldn't unsee it.
I mean, so I got started with the Gear VR, that thing you put your Samsung phone in there. That's how I got started. Then my dad, I took over the Gear VR to him, and I said, "Look how cool this is." And he says, "Oh, that is cool, son. I'm glad you're enjoying that. Would you like to try my Rift?" And I was like, "You have what?" And he's got base stations around his room, and that was it. And then I jumped into the Quest 1, and it was over. So what made you want to start a YouTube channel? I mean, before you answer, I'll tell you unapologetically that I wanted free stuff. I could not afford any cool accessories, and I wanted to land stuff, and it was a vehicle to get that done. So
yeah, the free stuff is definitely a perk, man. Like, I no judgment here. It's definitely a perk, especially. I mean, we live in a time where you can talk about something like you're into, and you get compensated to talk about it. I mean, it's a very cool time to be alive. But it's funny. The reason I started my channel was actually a suggestion from a friend of mine, who's a flat gamer. That sounds so weird. He's a flat gamer, but he basically just plays, console, PC. And I'm really into VR. And every time I would talk to some of my guys that I kind of came up with gaming with, I was just raving about VR all the time. And surprisingly, I personally can't see why anybody would not be into VR, but they aren't. They're just not into it. It's just not their thing. I think it's the comfort and all the weird stuff about being in VR that just keeps them away from it. But one of my buddies, like, I'm really like talking, a mile a minute, just kind of spewing just everything I know about VR to this guy. He's like, "You should start a YouTube channel." And I don't know if it was that he just believed that I should start a YouTube channel, or just he got tired of listening to me talk about VR. I don't know which one that was, but he was just kind of like, "You should probably do that," So I did, and it really was. It sounds so cheesy, man. It really was to find like a community of people to talk about VR with. Like I spend time in my comments a lot, and it's not just to like push engagement or whatever. It's like, these are people that I actually talk to about VR, and going back and forth with. So yeah, it was finding community. And then like you said, who doesn't want a YouTube channel about something they're into, right? So it was kind of a no-brainer at that point.
Well, I kicked this off saying that I wanted free stuff, and that was true, because I desperately wanted to try the Wooger vest when it came out back around 2020. And the truth is that now it's almost a burden. People send you stuff, and you're expected to make content on it, even if you don't find it interesting. Whereas 5 years ago, it was, I really want a better head strap for the Meta Quest 3 than what's shipped, and I can't afford it.
Right.
So that was the cycle, the blessing. And even not, now I have more subscribers, or now I have a good head strap. But it's more like, it's almost, once you start creating content and videos and you realize how engaged the audience is, and they comment on everything, it's no longer about you wanting free stuff. It's about you doing your best to sift through the stuff that's not worth buying. And you realize that all of a sudden, all the free stuff you're getting, which was supposed to make your life better, it's this wasteful thing that's of no value to everyone else around you. Yeah, I remember, and this is meant to be more about you than me. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna tell some stories. I remember it was the MetaQuest one. I had no intention of making content. Wasn't even on my radar. And the MetaQuest one, we had that Death Lab had come out, and I adored that game. I still have a video up from that, but it was just me showing how cool this is, and it was the most awkward coming of age weird thing. I'm a grown man, but it was like a very awkward video. It was like a 14-year-old, like yeah. I don't know, it was weird, but I made that video and I had so much fun with that game. I've been chasing that ever since. Half-Life Alyx came after. Half-Life Alyx was another thing. It was groundbreaking. People are sick of me talking about Half-Life Alyx, but it's such a cool experience. But I've been chasing that ever since. That thing where I don't care about the hype. I don't care about what you think is cool. I care that this was the most immersive, fun thing I've ever experienced in my life. And it's actually harder to find now. It is. It
really is.
I don't know what that 100%. Is. Maybe we're just jaded. I don't know.
So there was a magic that happened when you first played VR, because it was like, because I mean, ever since you kind of wanted to be, the plumber saving the princess, we've progressed far enough to where now we are standing in the shoes of the protagonist. You're experiencing the world, in true first person. I joke with my friends who play only flat games, and I'm like, I can't look at my games through a box and not like, I can't forget that I also have VR when I play like that. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because I feel like the magic is still there, but I think something has happened to, I don't know if, I know there's always like once a year there's like a VR is dead conversation or whatever, but there's an issue with the quality of games and the care of delivering those games. So it's almost like we had the same passion that we have in flat gaming in VR kind of early on, and that started to fade. It's like, I hate to beat up on Gorilla Tag, but the fact that it exists says something, right? It's like, what are we doing with VR? We have this great medium, and that's what we're doing with it. And no hate to those guys, they made a great game. People are playing it. I'm the weird one, right? But it's like, what happened to those breathtaking experiences we had early on?
Yeah, you say that online though, and you're taken down a notch. It's really bizarre to me that there's this opposition to it, because it's true. If you only said, why does Gorilla Tag exist? Fine, you have an opinion and people dogpile and that's it. The problem is that it's inspired a subgenre that's the most accessible, cheapest route to box office success, without any of the labor, without any of the love and the commitment to VR that makes a game good in the first place. And it's deadening, I think, the soul of VR, which isn't to say that VR is dead. That's not an excuse. VR is alive and well. It's just that whereas there used to be, 5 years ago, 10, 15 games that proved, like Lies Beneath, proved that VR had wheels, it had legs, it could thrive. And now to find that, you have to dig and swim deeper and deeper amongst just a lot of really bad titles. And it's happening because I get emails daily of developers saying, hey, will you please talk about this game? And I think, well, okay, everyone deserves a chance. And so I click on the link, and it's like, it's this concept where, like, you're a cook in a kitchen and the refrigerator won't stay shut because it's sentient and hot dogs are trying to, like, hit you across the face. And it's like, just, it's, what are we doing? It's all just.
Yeah. But no, I hear you though. I think there's the quote from Jurassic Park always comes to mind, where it's that we spent way too much time figuring out if we could do something and never stopped to think if we should. So you have this medium of VR, And I think what happens is like, you know what, this is so cool. The assumption is anything in this format will be cool, and that's just not true, right? So it's like, let me take whatever idea I have and just throw it into VR. And quite frankly, it deserves better than that.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's true, because Deadpool VR, this is a bit of a tangent, but I really didn't like that game at all. I am the outlier here. I know that people love it, and no disrespect, but I don't like that game because it puts you in this first person perspective of a player who has his own arc, his own story. He talks, for God's sake, like he has a monologue out loud that you have no control over, and it's this sarcastic thing. And if I'm meant to inhabit this person, if I'm meant to be him and feel I'm in it, I'm here, but then there's this monologue going on about my butt clenching with, like, I don't know, whatever Deadpool is. Right. It takes Deadpool me out of it.
Yeah. I totally hear you. I think it actually does connect to what I was saying, where it's like, it's a fun game. There's nothing wrong with, the game technically, but it doesn't necessarily change anything about how that game would play on a flat screen, right? So, and maybe it could be a little bit worse because you have like the waving weapons in the air kind of like randomness that kind of comes with VR jank.
And I play flat screen games. I'm deeply in love with, and I'm aware that there are some VR ports. I haven't tried them, and I expect they're mostly jank, but I'm in love with Outer Wilds and Control, Need for Speed, Heat. So I have a good time with flat screen, but what you said about not being able to go back, that always in the back of your mind, there's this thing that says that this game is only being played like at 40%. Like you're leaving room on the table, and people interpret that and say, well, if that's the case, then every game is leaving 60% on the table. I think that's right. I don't know what the solution is, I think is what I was going to say. Because when Meta was a walled garden and it took a lot of work to get in there, people complained because there were some bullet hell cool games that people wanted, and they were thriving on side quests, and the community was praising them, saying this is so cool, and dogpiling Meta, saying why isn't this in the store? And that led to this open market thing. It's since backfired, and now it's all just really bad, dumb stuff, and I don't know what the answer is.
I don't either, man. It's actually one of the reasons why I started watching your channel. I started watching your channel before I started mine, and it was probably because of one of your like honest takes on games. And I've even said that in a couple of pieces where I covered games, where it's like it's really hard to cover these games. I think it was World War Z was the one I covered, but it's hard to cover them because it's like you can't help but say how you feel about how bad some of this is, and I'm not going to give it just a pass just because it's in VR. It's like some of this stuff would be bad and flat. So that's why I say it's one of those things where just being in VR is not going to pretty much absolve you of every game developing sin there is because I'm in VR. And I think that answers your earlier question. It's like that's why the magic is not there, right? It's like we're just kind of selling it all over to VR to say, hey, it's in VR, enjoy, but the care and the magic of the game hasn't been put into it. It's a medium that doesn't have as much available to it as flat. Because like flat, we have like Unreal Engine. I mean, it has its own struggles too, where we have like flat games are people are saying they feel soulless or whatever. I don't know. But it's easier to make a very high quality game, even if the game is like kind of like low key lame. But it'll look really great on flat. We don't have all of that.
But that's the thing. Vertigo 2, dude. Have you played Vertigo 2?
Yeah.
I'm
playing one remastered. I have to. I actually haven't played 2.
I haven't played 1.
Remastered, though.
I jumped right into 2, and I am no more than 2 levels from completing it. And there's already like this additional mission that you can download and buy. And I'm excited for it, but it's I mean, it lacks some of the polish of Half-Life Alyx, but it's not meant to be Half-Life Alyx. It's got a very goofy kind of slapstick aroma to it, you know? And if that guy can do that over the course of 3 years, by himself mostly, and if a game like Goat Simulator can succeed so spectacularly, which I like that game for what it is, 15 years ago, that I don't think there's room to say that Half-Life Alyx succeeded because they have unlimited amounts of money through Steam. I don't think that's true. I think that...
No, it's not. I agree with you there. It's not that it's just because it had, you know, a strong backing. I think the problem is that we're, as VR gamers, we're experiencing a lot of like, we're guinea pigs, right? Where people are saying, hey, there's this VR thing, let's try that, right? Whereas in the flat world, it's like this kind of established gaming medium where it's like, okay, you have to bring a certain quality of game to it. Even, you know, not that it has to be like graphically superior, but you have to bring a good game because it will just go unnoticed on flat. But in VR, it's like, hey, there's a new VR game. And subconsciously, I don't know about you, but subconsciously, it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'll try it. And you're hoping for a great game because it's a VR game. And, you know, I love VR, but you're kind of let down. It's like, maybe if I would spend some time on Steam and just play random games, I might see the same thing in flat. So to your point, it's not necessarily just production budget, but maybe just the frequency of like top tier games is low in VR. We get them every once in a while.
I've changed my mind. I agree with you. You're right, but I suddenly think the problem is different. People don't want to say it because there's this bias where it's almost like Greater Than Thou and Quest players, they look down on Steam games because it can't be afforded and they're kind of coping. And Steam players look down on Quest because it's basically a phone with lenses. That's a thing, and I'm not saying either one of them is correct, but it is the case that a Steam flat screen game has to have something to succeed. There's just the ecosystem around them is such that it has to look good if they want to survive. Whereas the MetaQuest 3 is inhabited by, I mean, you and I are doing okay, but everyone else, they're all kids who came from Android phones and have been playing Angry Birds their whole lives. So we're expected to review games as they come out, but every one of them is built for the Quest, which isn't in itself a guarantee it's going to be bad. Plenty of people have made experiences for the MetaQuest 3 that were killer. I personally liked that Jurassic World Aftermath. I loved Lies Beneath. I think Beat Saber survives on its own merits. Synth Riders. But all of those games, they're working. Red Matter and Red Matter 2, yeah. They're doing a lot with very little. They know their limitations, except in the case of Red Matter. Somehow, they just went balls to the wall and it looks amazing and it plays phenomenally. I don't know. But everyone else, they have to like incorporate some kind of a comic book style or something to like make it run. And they know their limits. But more and more, I think the Quest is so inexpensive. Again, you and I love it. And watching right now, my demographic is almost exclusively like 32 to 48 years old. Every one of you guys watching this, that's you probably. But it doesn't change the fact that the Quest demographics are universally like 14 to 25, I think. Something like that. It's all just kind of low effort Android style quality. And we're expected to just shut up and go along and review it and hunt for the nuggets, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the demographics because it's something that I think about all the time in gaming as a whole, flat or VR, where, you know, we were there for the transition of, you know, 8-bit to what we have today. Like we saw that happen. I think Linus Tech Tips did a video on this about how like there aren't real, like, people think that Gen Z or Gen Alpha aren't real gamers. I don't even know what a real gamer is, but I'm really torn on this topic. I don't know what's better because I was there to see graphics get better, things to get more realistic. So then I kind of have a certain expectation now. But now the 14-year-old gamer started on mobile and they don't have that need. They're not pixel peepers like we are. They don't play a game and say, "Hey, it wasn't in 60 frames per second." They're not worrying about refresh rate necessarily, right? Some prefer touch screens to play over controllers. I've heard someone even say that gaming's biggest, competitor is short form content like TikTok.
Well, that raises another thing for me. For a long time, even I've been on the record saying this, and now I've got egg on my face. But it was this thing where VR just hasn't had a leg up. VR is so cool, but it hasn't had the chance to thrive because all of these big titles, these AAA games, no developer wants to take a chance on VR. Where's the money? And so we don't get standalone things like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption 2, even older games that could technically thrive in VR, like Just Cause 2. But we've seen Jurassic World, Aftermath, that's a huge IP. Ninja Turtles, that's a huge IP. Batman, that's an enormous IP. Yeah. And it still didn't do the thing I thought it would, which was drop a game that's so universally acclaimed, a topic that's so unavoidable, and that the culture just swarms around it that we have no choice. Suddenly, it's selling like a PS5 in Christmas. But that's just not happening. And
yeah,
I don't think it's because of the graphics. I think Batman is fine on its own merits. There's parts of it I really like. I think the combat, for whatever it is really good. But what is it people want?
I wonder if there's a way out of this issue with VR. We have like an identity crisis with VR. Identity crisis and just kind of like have a PR issue to the consuming world with VR. It's like it's looked at as that weird thing that needs you to put something on your head to play. It's a little uncomfortable. I have to stand up when I play, and it's up against sitting at your PC with a controller with the best looking graphics ever. And I just wonder if we're just losing people just to the friction of playing VR. Like if you ask someone who loves like the Arkham games in flat and ask them if they played Arkham Shadow, and the answer will probably be no. Now they already love the IP, right? So what's stopping them from playing what I feel is a very, very good VR game? What's stopping them? It's not the game itself. It's like,
I think it's me. But let me explain. My daughter, she's 17. She loves the Batman IP. She's played all of those Arkham games. And I put her in Arkham Shadow, like she was reluctant. She doesn't care about VR. She thought 5 years ago, when she was 12, that it was cool that I was talking about VR and exploring this stuff. But it's never grabbed her. And more than anything, when she's looking forward to Subnautica 2, okay? The first thing I tell her is, hey, you know what? Subnautica 1 and probably Subnautica 2 down the line, it's got a VR mod that works pretty well. And she just immediately just rolls her eyes and says, oh my God, you talk about anything other than VR? God, get alive. Like that's how she talks about it. Yeah, that's probably because her dad is a dork and she just wants to play games in her room with the door closed. But I think that there is an accessibility thing. Fine, you could play VR for $400, and fine, VR games typically aren't as expensive as a flat screen. I mean, those things launch for $80 a piece sometimes on Steam. It's expensive. Right. Maybe there's something, like an old man in overalls with relation to VR. Maybe it's got a... I don't see it that way. I don't think that's happening, but if it was, would I know? Is VR just not cool to the young kids? I just don't know.
It's possible. I wanted to ask you about this because you've been doing this a little bit longer than I have, and I do worry about this. There's something I noticed, especially creating content around VR. I feel like we all, those of us who love VR, I feel like us content creators or just people who just talk about it freely online, I feel like there's this never-ending effort to try to convince people that it's cool, and there has to be like this opposing energy that's causing us to act that way. Even in my own channel, I feel like it's like almost every video where I'm talking about something, I know I'm talking to probably a very small group of people who already love VR, but I still feel like it's necessary to show people just how cool some of this stuff is. I don't know. I don't know if you're like, you've been doing this longer than I have. Like, do you feel the same way, or is it not the same for you?
It's the same, and you know it from your analytics. If a video does bad, it's guaranteed to get 300 views over the course of a week or two. And that's because I have 300 people who hit that notification bell, and they're always there. And if a video does good, and I'm talking, for me, we're different. Your videos blow up, dude. Everyone subscribe to The Construct. He's incredible. But my videos, if it's doing good, that means I get 5 to 6K views in a week, which is good for me, you know? And then you look at the analytics, and it's 15% of the audience are subscribed, which I look at that, and that tells me that, okay, we're rolling up on the holidays. I should only be focused on my audience, the people I know. I should only be saying, hey, you guys, look at this cool thing I found. I know that you're going to dig it because you dug this. But instead, it's like I'm talking to strangers, you know, saying, look, this game is cool, but here's why it's cool. And here's why VR works in the first place. And it's like I'm going backwards and talking about all these different steps because I have to, because they're just all strangers to me amidst a select handful of people I regularly recognize in the comments.
It's funny that you say that, because I'm probably, I mean, my ratio is probably about the same. Like there's a solid, great set of like 196 people who come around, you know, every week or whenever I post. But it's mostly like if I'm posting on something that's, you know, popular, or just, you know, the Apple Vision Pro brought in so much, you know, attention to it, but it was casual attention to VR, right? You just kind of, hey, what's this VR thing about? And oh, look, there's a Quest thing that costs like, you know, 1/7 of the price. Wonder what that's about. So you kind of get that audience, right, who's just kind of curious. So it keeps us locked in this kind of rhetoric where we're constantly saying, yeah, it's really cool. Believe me, trust me, it's very cool. You know, so your content starts to lean that way. I think it's tough because I do want to like take deeper dives and talk about things. But yeah, it's scary. You don't want to just like send a whole bunch of work out to the void to have it go nowhere.
Well, that's the thing too. You almost feel like you're held hostage by the algorithm. Like it tells you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and who your audience is. And so if you follow that only, then you're kind of hogtied into this thing where this worked, so do more of this. This wasn't too good. Don't ever do that again. And I got so sick of chasing it. And it hasn't been good. It's not great, but that's why I began just following whatever. I mean, for God's sake, I made a video about cassette tapes like 3 days ago. Like, I'm done. Just talk about what I want to talk about, and a few of my subscribers will follow me, and I'm not bailing on this or that, but I think that you and I, and a lot of people, I think that a lot of the subscribers they have, not so for some creators, but for you and I think that someone like Mateo311, okay, he is incredibly talented at what he does. He is a machine that pumps out VR news on the regular at a pace that's, if I tried it, I'd get a nosebleed. He's so prolific at it and good at it, but I think people tune into him for that information stream. Whereas sometimes I feel like people tune in to you and me more for the personality. I think that it's a benefit that they get information, and they wouldn't show up if we weren't providing it. But I think that I can't really talk about myself in this sense, but other people in the comments have told me that they like how I talk about things, and so I feel like sometimes they're here for you rather than
100%.
the headset that you're reviewing. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit. I mean, and I'm not just trying to force a compliment here. I have clicked on your videos after already watching a review of a game just to hear what you have to say about it, right? I mean, it's different. It's different than news. It's different than just an update. And it's actually makes it harder for like, creators like you and me, where I can't fake personality. I can't fake a reaction to something. Not to say that other people do, but it's like when you're more focused on kind of delivering information like news, it's always there for you to deliver. I may not necessarily have like a personal experience to deliver as frequently as Mateo. And like I said, I love what Mateo's doing. I got a chance to meet him. I told him, it's like, yeah, dude, like you left corporate to start talking about VR. You're my hero. It's like, so it's kind of tough when you're in our shoes where you're putting your personality into it. And you don't want to be fake, man. You don't want to just, make content. It's actually why I'm so inconsistent on YouTube. It's like, I really only like to make videos when I can and when I actually care. I feel like it would probably come across on screen if I didn't actually care about the video I was making. I find myself at a crossroads. So, VR content it's few and far in between. There's only a small section of us out there. I mean, it looks like a lot of us, but it's small in the whole like YouTube space. So then I see people who make content on things, and it's like you said, I can't keep up with the pace of like a Mateo. And then if people already have seen something, they already like it, what difference is it going to make for me to come in and say, I also like it, or I also don't like it? So that's always tough. But I actually ran into an issue where and this is kind of one of the reasons I stopped, reviewing games. I reviewed, I think it was a Metro game, and I actually liked it. And I liked it coming from the perspective of like you and I, a VR enthusiast who's loving how VR is going, and seeing Metro in VR was amazing. I mean, just seeing that universe, having the stealth gameplay. Is it the most perfect VR game? No, but I was very happy to be in a Metro universe in VR, and I got ripped to shreds in the comments by this one person. People think that their comment won't be read, but we read them. They hurt sometimes, right? Yeah. But this person just ripped me to shreds. They were like, you're just saying this to get free game codes, and they're announcing that they're going to unfollow my page and all this different stuff. And it's like, wow, like I wonder why they were seeing it that way, because I actually did really like the game. But then I thought about it, because of what you just said, I'd never reviewed games that I didn't like. So then it kind of was causing this kind of illusion that I'm only saying something about it because I got it for free, right? So it's like, well, what do I do? Do I just start like covering games that are bad?
No, you're doing great, terrible, man. I feel it.
There was this terrible game, Metamorphosis.
We're gonna keep this, dude. I got things to say.
Oh my god! So this was a game that I never covered on the channel, and it was because it was just it was so bad. It was just so terribly bad. And in retrospect, I'm like, maybe I should have covered it, because it would have shown a side of me that doesn't like something, so people maybe would feel a little bit more, trusting that I'm sharing both good things and bad things. But I talked to the developer. I emailed them back, and I'm like, I can't even get through this section of the game. Like, the functionality is so bad. Like, you grab a giant key and it's like hovering over here, and then touch the door. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I couldn't get the key to stay in the hand. And then there was like this one section where I just had to jump through like an old clock or something, and just the platforming was completely broken. I couldn't move. So I told the developer, this is not in a playable state. I don't know what you want me to do. And actually, once I told him that it was just unplayable, it was just radio silence. I don't think he ever returned my email. There was a game that came out shortly after that. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I might put the footage here.
kind of want to pull it up for you because it was so bizarre and so baffling. This is so weird. I just got to show you this one thing here. So this game, the narration, the storyline reads like Blue's Clues. She talks to you like you're 5 or 6. And so dialogue like this.
My papa told me a story about a hero that could jump across the world. The playground is so much fun. The swings go super high and the seesaw is really fun. The sandbox is my favorite place to play. I can build huge castles and dig really deep holes.
If they'd hired a child actor to read these lines, then it could have been something like Wolf in the Walls. Or
So there's that,
from
and then-
Will. And dialogue like this comes off almost perverse.
Big Blue, that's my...
Like, what was she gonna say?
Oh no, the kennel. I must have drawn it wrong. It's going up the wall. The water can't do that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I got confused and placed a magic orb at the wrong place. Shh, we have to be quiet. I like to sneak down from my room and steal berries from the kitchen at night. But if we're caught, we're in big trouble.
Now you can say I'm reading into it. And anyway, okay,
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna give you,
having a-
dude. It was such a like the way she was talking, like you're like pumping this water, and she's like, and it's like, Jesus, like
Like, please stop.
lots of bad games, lots of bad games.
Yeah.
Well, it was bad in kind of like in the way it affected your soul, whereas Metamorphosis was bad in the sense that it was so broken and blocky and just haphazard that it was.
Taking it full circle, man. I mean, you know, you have people who are like, oh, there's this thing called VR, and then they kind of bring their kind of fragmented project to VR, and we get this stuff that just, it doesn't serve the medium very well. It's just not, it's not worthy. I know a lot of work goes into that stuff, and I you know, my heart goes out to those people because you're working on something, and it's like, I'm sure at some point in the development of Metamorphosis, that dev team knew that this was not going well, you know, and they'd spent a lot of time making something that wasn't good.
And we're at a crossroads here because somewhere there is a guy who is alone doing his best to make a VR game, and he knows what he's doing, and it's really good. But maybe he doesn't have the money to see it through to its fruition. But more than that, there are guys, one guy who thinks he can make a VR game, and he's working at a bank, and he works on a Saturday to finish the game, and it's not any good. He thinks that he can make a game because he watched a couple YouTube videos, and it's impressive he can make anything at all. I can't make a VR game at all. But whatever he's doing, it should not be a published game. It should be a stepping stone. It should be something else. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of these titles are just rogue actors who I respect them. It's so cool that you want to make a VR game. It's so cool that you can do what I can't. But it doesn't mean that it belongs in this ecosystem and it's dragging stuff down. But I don't know what the answer is, because the alternative to that is back to the walled garden. Only good stuff stays, which means that we'd have Batman, and if there are 1,000 games, 50 of them would stay. Like that's what we'd be at, and that's not an ecosystem that can draw players. That's nothing. And so it's a problem that needs to be resolved. I don't know what the answer is, but whatever that problem is, it's the reason that Quest is not what it should be, I think.
I have a theory about where we go from here. Because we just got, I actually wanted to talk to you about this. Was it, what's it called? Flat Out VR, Total Insanity. You were just saying something about VR racing being boring, and now we have Flat Out. Maybe it would be a little bit less boring, but Flat to VR, what that studio's doing is pretty amazing. But just the concept of VR being ported into flat games, I think, is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. I've been playing Resident Evil 9 in VR with the port, and it
Wait,
works
is that
pretty
the newest one that just came out?
Yeah, the newest Resident
You've been
Evil
playing
9,
that in VR?
in VR. Yeah. The flat to VR community has some people who've already ported it.
I
almost to
saw that.
controls.
Have you gotten
Yeah,
to
yeah.
no spoilers, but have you gotten to the old lady dropping through the ceiling?
Well, yeah. So I beat the game flat in
Oh my
every way
God.
possible. I'm actually a very huge Resident Evil fan. Resident Evil 4 specifically on GameCube kind of made me a big fan. But yeah, I've actually beat it a couple times already. I've done a couple of runs.
Dude,
But,
I say I like
so-
scary games, but then I play scary games and I realize I don't like scary games. They freak me
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
There's that
Yeah, the one.
there's just I'm sorry, real quick, because I want to see how far I got into it. I have no idea, but there's a house that's like almost palace-like, and all these different rooms, and you can go different places, but you got to find keys to get around. Okay. Do you know what I'm talking about there? Because I don't want to
Yeah,
spoil
yeah.
anything. I'm in that house.
Well,
That's
you're
where
talking-
I'm at.
Are you talking about? You're talking about RE9, right?
Yeah. The
Okay, yeah.
what's the official name of that?
Requiem?
Requiem?
Requiem,
Yeah,
yeah.
Requiem.
Yeah. No. You can't spoil anything for me. I've actually played through it all. And
Well, it's
unlocked
more the
all of
audience.
things.
I don't want to throw anything out.
Yeah.
But
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I won't spoil anything. But yes, you are in the health the care center.
Yeah, it's like an
That's where you
asylum
are
or
right now.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I cannot imagine being in that hallway and having that big lady chasing me in VR. I wouldn't do it. Fuck
it's
that.
terrifying.
I can't do that.
It's terrifying. No, like the funny thing is I'm actually playing it. I'll make a video on it. I'm playing it on the Crystal Super, so the OLED.
No.
And man, walking into the shadows and actually feeling like you're in the dark, it's terrifying. it's definitely terrifying. I think one nice thing about Capcom and what they did with Resident Evil, once you kind of shed your fear of like, the infected, especially like your second playthrough of Resident Evil Requiem, or even like I played RE4 remake a couple of times. The funny thing is once you've played through it, it's like not scary anymore. It's like the game, for some strange reason, the more things you unlock, it almost becomes kind of comical or arcadish. It's like the first time through, it's terrifying. And then for some reason, if you play it again, it just feels like you're just walking around killing. It almost turns into Arizona Sunshine.
I found
Maybe
it
just 'cause you know
very
what's coming.
emotional when I mean, it's no secret she loses her mom. When we get that kind of footage in the beginning of that that moved me. That was pretty rough. But for me, it's
well
not.
done.
When you got like the doctors with a chainsaw running around, and I mean,
Yeah.
that stuff doesn't scare me. What scares me, and it affects me in real life, I'm not afraid to say it. Like if I'm walking up the stairs and someone's walking behind me, even my daughter, I have to like run up the stairs because like she's gonna like, because she does in real life. She'll like and like chase me just all of a sudden. And so if I'm, out in the dark walking, it's like I can't see what's behind me, and the very thought of someone just on all fours rolling up on me from behind, like it freaks me out. And so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how many times I've played the game, in that setting when I'm being chased by something and I can't stop to look behind me, otherwise I die. I gotta just plow ahead and keep running. It always gets me, dude. Doesn't matter. It's not
Yeah.
gonna change.
Yeah, the grace portions of the game are extremely terrifying. You feel so much better when you're Leon. But yeah, if you could get through the grace portion and get to the Leon portion, you'll feel better. Like once you're able to actually go into the action mode of the game.
I've
you
noticed
feel
that.
so-
I've played as Leon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Grace
not as
sections
much.
are-
It's
it's-
mostly Grace in the beginning, I think.
Yeah, it's very very heavy on the front end. It's a lot of Grace gameplay. But it's amazing how they balance the game. Because you feel helpless, you don't have a lot of bullets, don't have a lot of options, but somehow you can still get through it, which is it's really well done how they were able to balance that.
All right, man. So let me ask you this. I mean, you kind of floated the idea that Half-Life Alyx was like your peak experience, but just for the record, what is the best VR game you've ever played? On the MetaQuest 3, let's do that, because a lot of our viewers are going to be there.
If I had to pick just one, and it has to be on Quest, because there are some that are on both.
Well, we could name whatever you want. If we're going to name, let's do one Quest, one Steam. Let's do that to make everyone happy.
Okay. One Quest, one. So okay, for Quest exclusives, I think my favorite would probably have been. I'm just gonna go off of like the feeling that I had. I'm gonna put Red Matter in there, just because I specifically put it there because it's a standalone that feels like it's not a standalone for Quest, and I was really engrossed in the story. I was really kind of taken by it. I love solving the puzzles. So as far as like Quest standalone, that one's high on my list. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. I liked it. It was a great storytelling. Again, very good zombie balance where you feel desperate, but you can still make it if you just try hard enough. Really cool game. I find myself just kind of firing that up, just to play it. Great voice acting, just amazing stuff there. If I had to pick Steam, and it wasn't Half-Life Alyx, well, it's not Steam, but it's Rift or PC VR. Lone Echo won. What sealed the deal on that game was the game's old enough. I can spoil something, I think, at this point, but there's a point where you, the android, are saving the protagonist, the human who's on the ship with you, and she's hurt bad, and you're performing CPR on her, and you're literally hitting her chest and doing compressions, and just the emotion at that point of the game. It's near the end of the game, but being physically involved in that moment, I'm like, this is something you can't get anywhere else.
I know. It reminded me of The Abyss. Like, wake up, you bitch! Like, you've never quit on anything.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. Don't you die on me? Yeah. That moment, like, I'm sitting there doing compressions, hoping like this isn't the end of, one of the lead characters. Having these emotions, being physically involved in that whole moment. I'm like, this is what VR is about, man. I mean, you can't get this looking at a square box in your living room. You have to see it this way, right?
In flat screen, that would have been conveyed as looking at her chest, hit X to pump. It would have been lacking. Yeah, man. You know what it's gonna take? We can close pretty soon here. I've enjoyed talking to you, man. You're so insightful. You have so many things to say. I'm like Michael Scott. I just talk and hope something good comes out. Sometimes I surprise myself. But with regards to that episode I made about kind of retreating from modern tech, going back to vinyl and cassettes, I spent the entire day. So I talked about this thing here, this We Are Rewind. It's like a modern cassette player with Bluetooth, and I was happy with it. My video was all very positive, but I have to make another video now because there are some limitations that just, and this is related to what we're talking about, okay? But so I went back and I bought a vintage player from the late 80s, early 90s, I think. And you can't just buy one of these. You can, but it's not going to be worth anything because the belts have been sitting for 35, 40 years. They have to be replaced. So now if you want one of these things, you got to spend between $150 and $400 for a cassette player that was worth $25, 40 years ago. And the fact that I'm chasing something like this now and it interests me is because I feel like I'm not getting anything personal out of media today. I feel like I'm living to scrub and skip, and it's not up to me. It's up to the algorithm I allow to control my life. And this lets me create mixtapes, and it's just more personal. And I think that if not today, soon, people are going to feel that way about flat screen gaming. I can feel it already in this push for Unreal Engine 5 and what was that controversy where a game can only look so good, and at some point, this AI enhancement, it makes it look stupid.
DLSS 5, yeah.
Yeah. It seems like if you look at Red Dead Redemption 2, which was like, what, 2017 or something? That looked really good. Some stuff today looks better, but there hasn't been a huge improvement. And I think people are sick of this thing where games are coming out that even your 4080 cannot handle. We're making games that won't be playable for another 20 years, like at scale, you know? You, sir, are a rock, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Your channel is going to be linked down below in the comments and in the description. If you're not subscribed, follow the construct, and look forward to whatever else he has coming down the pipeline. Thank you very much for being here, man.
Great being here, man. Appreciate it. Enjoy.
Thank you again for the conversation, man. I hope to do this again.
Absolutely. Cheers.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too, man.
Bye.